goes. Just the way it goes. Degrees.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hookup On Music podcast, where we always like to get down and we always like to jam, and well, we never know what quite is crossing our turntables here, but let me promise you, it's going to be really good and it's going to be really, really, really rocking. So let's get started. Let's jump right in today. Let's jump into some newer music, newer bands that you may or may not have heard yet that I have been listening to recently. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's take a look what I've been listening to here. Okay, really awesome album suggested to me recently by an awesome gentleman online named Chris. He suggested that I listen to the Black Skeleton, The Rear View. Really awesome stuff. Really I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I liked it enough to say, why don't you go out and try to take a listen to it and let me know what you think of it, which is always awesome. So I do really appreciate that. The name of the album is The Rear View, The Black Skeleton. Okay, so next week, after a couple more listens, I'm going to go a little bit more deeper on this album, but I'm just telling you, if you are listening, check it out too. So next week, when I go through it, you could have listened to it too, and we can talk about it. All right, what else we got here? Really awesome new musician. His name is Bakar. Okay, and his debut album came out in 2022. Nobody's Home. So newer artist. If you are listening to the radio or listen to different things, you might have heard this track that is currently out there. Really awesome. Really good stuff. Definitely what I would say, just all around, the whole album is really good. But that being said, Bakar is somebody to really Helen Back is the name of that song. Is really somebody that I would say is worth taking some time out and listening to. Really diverse artists, a lot of different songs, a lot of different sounds. And the sounds on that album, Nobody's Home, are really good. He's got a new one coming out, Halo, which will be coming out September 8th. Curious to hear that, considering Nobody's Home has lots and lots of good stuff on it. Not only the Helen Back is not on it, but Noun is on it, Reclaim, Free, a lot of good stuff. Really worth checking out, really worth your time. Bakar is his name. Recently being Lollapalooza, I had a chance to watch the Backseat Lovers set. These guys really brought it. for the audience, for the crowd, for the rock. So I've been digging through their discography, which is only 2 albums. When We Were Friends and Waiting to Spill. They just another really awesome band from they're from Utah. Okay. Um it, it's just it's nice, and it's always fresh to hear bands coming around, and the Backseat Lovers is being one of them, just kind of, doing their thing, and by doing their thing, um bringing it to the point where a lot of folks are into it, because the crowd was huge. The crowd was huge at Lollapalooza that I happened to watch and tune into. Um, they got a new single that has been playing recently on the radio, and that's kind of what got me into them before the Lollapalooza set. And the name of the song is called oh, you know what? I'm really, 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 folks. Let me tell you something. Number one, music, it cures all. This show, it really, really helps, because as I'm sitting here doing this, your mind is racing after a long day, and the perspective of these songs, it really it's really awesome, and they got this song called "Growing and Dying." It's really worth your time to check out. It's one of their newest singles. Which I think is good when bands um, come out with newer singles. This one came out, well, later in 2022, so it's a little older now. Unfortunately, because the radio station WXRT that I sometimes tune into, and I heard it on there, they just started playing it, so I immediately assumed that it is a newer song, and it is not. It is not. It's about a year old. So go back and check out the Backseat Lovers. Good stuff. Couple albums from them, but it's like I always said. It's refreshing. Okay, another band that has been popping up recently. They're called Big Thief. Okay, they're a little indie. Okay, they got a little bit of some folk leanings. They're alternative. They're from Brooklyn. Really, really awesome. Adrienne Lenker, the lead singer of the band, really, really great voice. Brings the material to the forefront. Worth checking out. And digging deeper on these albums. Even myself, as I'm talking to you now, this band has been around since 2016. Okay, Big Thief, and they have 5 albums. I'm under the assumption when you hear the song on the radio that they only have the one album. But the reality is you can go back and dig deeper into these bands' catalogs, even stuff that was out there before it was released on the major label, and hear different stuff. Bakar, back to Bakar, he's received lots and lots of endorsements from huge artists as Elton John. Okay. His vocal style has been compared to, if you've ever heard of Block Party, another really awesome band from the mid 2000s, still playing really, really some good catchy tunes. Kind of his voice kind of reminds me of the lead singer of that band. But that being said, check that out. Always worth it to check out new stuff here at the Hookup On Music. And next week we're going to dig deeper into that Black Skeleton. Go and listen to the Backseat Lovers, listen to Big Thief, listen to Bakar, listen to all 3 sounds are different, and they're newer artists. So please check that out. All right. So from there, we're going to head a little bit down a little bit of a road that I am a little bit more familiar with. Okay. I find this to be, well, a very, very, very underrated band. Okay. They were only around for 10 years. They were only around from 1981 to 1991. And the band is called Talk Talk. Really, 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 really good stuff. It's a band that I would say, if you go and listen to their first album, okay, The Party's Over, and you make it all the way 10 years later to The Laughing Stock, you're going to see a band that is definitely not the same band anymore. And for me, for most of the majority of a lot of the artists that I listen to or I like, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy a band that changes. They expand their sound, and with that, you enjoy their changes. Talk Talk only being around 10 years. Okay, it was led by Mr. Mark Hollis, who played vocals. He played vocals. He sang vocals, played guitar. Um, Really, really awesome piano work. Really, 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 really good stuff. Lee Harris on drums, Paul Webb on bass. Just really to get started in that first song that you heard there from The Party's Over. Just kind of really, the band really showcases them. And I'm fair to say a lot of bands, I don't want to use the term they borrowed. They've and borrowed in a good way, because some of these bands are I don't even want to use some of these bands, because I don't want you to think back to any of the bands that I would personally say, well, he's wrong or he's this, but you'll hear their influence when you listen to these albums, okay, as they go along. One thing I always remember is their second album, It's My Life. Of course, a great, great, amazing cover is, you wouldn't believe it, is No Doubt's It's My Life. They do a really, really good cover. And that album, you could already see the maturing from album 1 to album 2. The bass picks up, everything picks up, the songwriting. Okay, really good songs on this album. Dum Dum Girl, Such a Shame. As you dig into the second half of the album, some lesser known songs as Calling the Night Boy and Tomorrow Started just really, really showcase a band that are starting to click on all cylinders. And by clicking all cylinders, they're always too, when they're making these albums or they're touring, they're bringing in they're starting to bring in more, what's the word I'm looking for? Starting to bring in more session musicians to help fill out the sound, which is awesome, because you could hear again different elements of a band changing. And by the third album, okay, The Color of Spring, okay, it really they start to showcase what I would say is even a more mature sound, and mature being an understatement, because this is the 80s, where bands are getting louder, they're getting brighter, they're getting more just in your face. And Talk are kind of doing, well, a little bit of the Beatles, where they're not really going to tour as much after the touring of The Color of Spring. So that kind of happens after this, but they're starting to become more of really in depth in the studio. Okay, Mark Hollis is the writer here of this band. Okay. Tim Freese Green produced this album. He worked with the band from 83 till their breakup. So this was a band that was comfortable working in a comfortable zone. And Life's What You Make It and Living in Another World off of this album, reached top 20 in a lot of different countries, which is always awesome to see. Living in Another World, which is what you heard right there. If you go ahead and take a listen to that album track off The Color of Spring, really growing. The song is growing. It's building. Every chorus, it picks up more steam. Every verse, more instruments. It's one that I would definitely suggest. Their albums have a huge Butterfly influence, you'll notice, on quite a couple of the covers, which I think is awesome, because growing up in a house that there was some appreciation of butterflies, you could see a lot of cool designs in a butterfly. And that's what I think they're going for in these albums. You're going to see a lot of cool design. You're going to see a lot of awesome deep musicianship. Okay. And you're going to have a really good time, because it really, if you like more rocking stuff, there's that Living in Another World, when it takes off, it's rocking. If you like more of experimental progressive, it's there. It's all there. By the time they come to Spirit of Eden in 1988, they definitely are now just kind of they're becoming different. They want to become more of a jazz band, and by they, it seems to be from all things that I've read. Mark Hollis, is now kind of taking the reins more. Um, and unfortunately, compared to The Color of Spring, which had those top 20 hits, this next album, Spirit of Eden, was recorded in a different fashion. It was recorded pretty much with not with many hours of improvisation. Okay. So what it would happen is they would jam for long, long hours, and then they would sit and edit it down and try to come up with these songs, which is cool, okay, because the songs have everything from jazz, blues, classical music. There's a little dub in there. It's a really, really different listen. But again, it's totally different than The Color of Spring. So unfortunately, when this album comes out, it does not do as well as The Color of Spring. And unfortunately, for some, it's considered um, a commercial disappointment. But we don't go by commercial stuff. We go by, does it sound good? It's definitely worth checking out. I've seen it on a couple lists of 500 greatest albums of all time. Just really this band, this band from England, just doing really cool things. Okay, they're by the time they come to The Spirit of Eden, you're going to hear they're nowhere near The Party's Over. They're nowhere near the Talk that you heard on that first track that I played. They're in a whole different era, a different dynamic even. And their last album, Laughing Stock, I think this album, in my opinion, it even goes 20 times further than the last one, which I think is a little too far. Okay, I think Laughing Stock, they might have just taken it a little too far. It's just a different listen. Okay, it's a lot more of kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? A kind of just really just gonna sit on the couch and almost kind of put you in an embryonic state. But I wanted to talk to you guys about Talk because I don't know if you've ever heard them or listened to them, but really, really go back and listen to those first 3 albums all the way through. I'd start with The Color of Spring because it's my personal one that I would think could give you a little bit of an insight of everything that this band is capable of. But even going back to the couple before that, It's My Life or The Party's Over, I think would be definitely something that would, it might suit you to do that. So let's get a little heavy here. Let's get a little heavy. Wow, Judas Priest. We're going to give you a little bit of a taste of Judas Priest tonight, and then maybe at a later date we'll give you a little bit of more of a taste of Judas Priest. But I can't speak enough of how awesome Judas Priest is. Okay, recently I seen somebody who likes heavy metal said that they don't like Judas Priest. I'm not about that. Okay, so it's their Judas Priest is to me one of the greatest metal bands of all time. Okay, and I'm not alone on this. Okay, for a metal band have sold over 50 million albums. Okay, really, really, really awesome, good stuff. Just really, really, really good, heavy. The riffs are there. Okay, Glenn Tipton and KK Downing. Okay, Rob Halford is one of the most amazing vocalists. He could hit levels of octaves that, I'm just saying levels of octaves, like it sounds like it's a thing, but he could hit notes that rarely a lot of other metal singers can hit. And, he's been doing it a long time and he still sounds pretty good. You see a lot of metal bands. I mean, Priest hangs with Maiden as being 2 bands who still, deliver the goods. And Judas Priest are a band whose style is, again, it's morphed. It's morphed quite a bit, a couple different times. They've actually gotten heavier at times. They might even be considered heavier now than they were at the beginning. Okay, if you go back to their first album, Rock and Rolla, it's pretty classic rocking. Okay, it's pretty classic rockin' vibe. Okay, and then you start getting into more stuff. You start to get into more. The Rocket is building. Okay, Sad Wings of Destiny, great, 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 great album. Um, British Steel. Okay, if you're getting started just listening to Judas Priest, go to British Steel. The album, the album is a really, really, really good starting place. Where was my start personally? Was a cassette tape that was around the house growing up. This is from their 80s album, Turbo. Okay, so this is one of my, I would say, the first song I remember before breaking the law, before living after midnight, before you got another thing coming. To me, it was this song, Turbo. And growing up in a house with lots of fast cars, I remember going in my dad's 72 Trans Am, and he would have this just blast. And when you're like 10 or 11 and this is just playing at loud levels, you can't help but yourself but say, wow, this is awesome. Okay, this is really, really cool. And that's what Judas is always bringing, the coolness. And I think, go back and listen to British Steel. And if you really, really want more heavier, go a little bit further. Go to Painkiller. Painkiller is really, really heavy for that time period of when it came out. Rob even left the band for a little bit, and they got another singer in. If you want to check out, that stuff, you can. It's not as good as Rob, I'll be honest with you. Rob's solo stuff, he's got a solo band too that was really, 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 really good. That was on the Nothing album. Not Nothing. It's not Nothing. What I mean is it was on the Nothing record label by what's that band called? Not Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor's Nothing Records produced this album. Really, really good stuff too. Different, only one album. He did come out with Fight before too, which was actually pretty awesome. But check out some Judas Priest. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm saying. Next up is a man that we talk about all music here, and I will not ignore Mr. Waylon Jennings, and I will not ignore if you listen to that song and you turn the bass up, it makes me feel like I'm in Boogie Nights selling stereos. Just really, really awesome. Really, really, again, worth your time checking into. Waylon, a long time. He was around a long time, playing music a long time, from 49 to 2001. Okay. You this man played with Buddy Holly. Okay. I don't know how much more I can really kind of say how awesome that is. Playing with Buddy Holly, the Buddy Holly. Okay. Unfortunately, he was with the band on the Winter Dance Party tour. Okay, there are pictures that are really amazing of Buddy Holly and Waylon Jennings hanging out in a booth at Grand Central Station, which I find to be really amazing and really awesome. Not digging too much into him tonight too much. We could do a whole hour on Waylon Jennings, and we probably will at some point. This is just putting the flyer out there that if you're not listening to Waylon Jennings, I want to say I think it's about time you listen to a little Waylon Jennings, because that song that you just heard there, Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way? Song's pretty awesome. Okay, it came out in 1975. Okay, we talk a lot about the cool music, the Floyd, the Led Zeppelins, the Grateful Deads, but at that same time, Waylon is just Waylon. Waylon's Waylon, okay, and he's just rocking and going across country, and he's actually doing more rock and roll things than most rock. What's the word I'm saying? Rock bands did at the time. Okay, it kind of pretty much, the song pretty much pays influence to Hank Williams Sr., who pretty much really kind of started this whole country music. Okay. And I'm not going to put any labels on it. They're not going to call it rebel country or this or that. It's what they made. It's just really, 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 really awesome. So check out some Waylon Jennings. Before we head out tonight, though, um, before we head out, I wanted to tell you, a little bit about the very first two cassette tapes that I personally were my own tapes. Okay, no one else were playing these tapes. No one else were listening to this. These tapes were my tapes. Okay, and these tapes were To the Extreme was the very first tape I owned. Okay, in 1990. Okay, by Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer's Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em. You know, just loaded with classics. Okay, loaded with good. Well, I don't know what to say.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it.
If you've never seen the video, definitely worth checking out is the Vanilla Ice Baby To the Extreme. And why I bring this up tonight, because generally I would not just be talking about Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer, but Vanilla Ice is playing this weekend. Okay, I'm pretty anxious to see how this goes, because he's also playing with Tone Loc, and he's also playing with Rob Bass, which is going to be very, very interesting to see how many songs all these three end up. What's the word I'm looking for? Playing that night. But going back to this time period when I owned these tapes, I really thought they were cool, to the point where, well, they were influential. But what's really odd that I remember is that the follow-ups of these tapes, I remember they just stunk. Okay, and that's kind of probably my first indication to having like what I would call sophomore slump. And these albums, you look back, aren't very good, but they were huge successes when they came out. Youngsters bought them up, and by buying them up, they went and opened themselves up to thinking that they had these huge careers, to the point where Vanilla Ice has had tried to come out with movies that flopped. His music, real cheesy, I remember, is that he revamps himself in the late 2000s as a rap metal artist. If you get a chance, check out the Vanilla Ice, the metal version of Ice Ice Baby. Really, really ridiculous. Worth your time, if nothing more but to laugh if you've never seen that. But you had MC Hammer doing Can't Touch This. Okay, I'll never forget begging for a pair of MC Hammer pants. Ridiculous that I asked for those. Ridiculous, considering that, unfortunately, what this man, he lost pretty much everything because he overspent, and now looking kind of back at it, it's kind of a cautionary tale as a child looking at it, watching this guy rise to the top. And when that second album, Too Legit to Quit, did not hit, it had the whole too legit. I'm not doing the whole thing. But that being said, it's funny to look back. And that's what's funny, is to see Friday and to think back to those early time periods. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there who thinks back to maybe some of their earlier musical, the first things that they've listened to. Okay, I was listening to a lot more stuff around this time period that was being played around me, the stuff that stuck. This was just the stuff that I begged to have at first. And honestly, it didn't get much more crazier than this. It kind of went from this to, well, Faith No More, Metallica, AC/DC. So it wasn't Pantera. It wasn't quite like, oh, wow, I collected quite a lot of artists like this. It was literally just Vanilla Ice and this MC Hammer. And then I kind of got out. I took my stuff, hit eject, and said, bye. No indication. I did not get into NSYNC. I did watch a lot of people get into NSYNC. And I kind of brought me back to this time period with Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer, and thinking to myself, was it cool that I owned these at first? Was it a learning lesson? What really was it? And, that's kind of what we always like to ask ourselves here tonight. What really was tonight? Tonight was what I would like to say an introduction to maybe some artists you haven't heard, some newer stuff, like I was saying earlier, like Bakar and the Backseat Lovers, okay, and Big Thief. Or maybe you haven't heard Talk yet, or it's been a while since you busted out your old Judas Priest. You know, Waylon definitely needs a spin every now and then. And it doesn't hurt to laugh at some old classics, you know. And, you know, I always thank you guys so much for joining me. And thank you for joining everything on the Sadistic Penguin Studios YouTube channel. And if you would like to find me, you can find me on the Hookup On Music, on the Twitter, and on the Instagram, either one. You can send me messages there. I do not mind. I would prefer it, so we can talk. You can join the comments. You can join the conversation, you know. And I will be out there soon. I will be out there at the Vanilla Ice Show if you happen to listen to this before. And if I happen to run into you, we're definitely going to have some laughs, okay? And we're definitely going to talk. So thank you, everyone, for joining in. And until next week, please, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week and always relax. It's hot out there.